New York City. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stacy Smith, and I'm one of the co-organizers of tonight's meetup, and really happy to see such a full house here at Thoughtbot in New York City tonight. It's really cool, and I'll also go ahead and say hi to those of you watching on the stream. We're really happy to have you here too. Before we get started, I'd like to first give a special mention to our very generous sponsors, Equal Entry, contributing to a more accessible world, Adobe, Level Access, and Thoughtbot, who also, in addition to sponsoring us, gives us this really cool space to meet up in. But of course, we don't do these alone. This is very much a team effort. And in addition to my meetup co-organizers, I'd like to say a special thank you to Jolly McPhee from the Internet Society. And he's the one making all of this lovely technology happening to make the live stream and the subsequent recording possible. So thank you to Jolly. And also to our friends at White Coat Captioning, Diane Scott tonight, who'll be doing the live captions that you see happening. So thank you to Diane. I hope you'll stick around at the end of tonight's presentation. We'll have an additional short presentation that I think will be of interest to most of you in the room. So that will take just a couple of minutes. And also it's a meetup, so please stick around and mingle, introduce yourselves to each other. If you have any questions with our presenter, I'm sure she'll enjoy getting to meet you and just having a chat. And without further ado, I'll just go ahead and hand it over to tonight's presenter, Ms. Regine Gilbert.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I'm Regine Gilbert, and I'm going to be speaking to you about designing with accessibility in mind. I've done this talk a few times, but I have never actually done what I'm about to show you today, so you all will give me good feedback, I'm sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, how I got into accessibility. I've been in UX design 5 years, almost 6, but I have been in technology for over 10 years. And I decided to make a career change from being a product manager into UX design, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Working in IT and working in-house and working with software, I didn't really deal much with the outside digital world until I got into UX. When I got into UX, I learned about accessibility from just reading, and then I learned about this meetup where I got connected with Thomas and Sean, and I've learned so much from this meetup. It's been such a gift in my life. I've gotten friends out of this. And I'll tell you about one of the first times that I attended this meetup. When I attended the meetup, I met a person who's blind, and I was telling her, oh, I do UX design, and she said, well, what is that? And I said, well, make things more usable, for people. And then she asked me a question, and she asked me, do people like you think about people like me when you're making stuff? And I sat there and I thought for a minute, and up to that point, I really hadn't heard people talk about making things for people with disabilities. And I told her, honestly, no, but I will tell you this. I will make sure I think about it. I will make sure anybody I work with thinks about it. I will make sure that anybody I teach thinks about it. And so that has been my commitment ever since. Beside that, I grew up with a mother who had cognitive issues, as well as a cousin who is deaf. So being part of a family with people with disabilities has kind of, it's part of my journey and part of my story. So let me get into it. I found this quote on Twitter from Blind New World that said, no one who truly cares about design should ignore #accessibility. Designing with empathy isn't just the right thing to do as a designer, it's the future of design, full stop. So I want to talk to you all about the 7 principles of universal design. So how many of you here know about universal design? By show of hands. A few of you, not a lot. So in universal design, there's equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, Size and space for approach and user. So universal design is not specifically for the web. It came from Ronald Mace and a team of architects, product designers, and engineers in the 90s. But we can take these 7 principles and apply them to the web. So equitable use. How many of you check color contrast on a daily basis up in here? Who? Just a few. Okay. So please, if you work with color at all, use a color contrast checker. It's not that hard, honestly, and it can change things. Have you ever gone outside and tried to use your phone and you're trying to see what's on the screen, but it's bright out and you can't because it's probably low contrast and you can't see? I mean, just do it. Just make it high contrast. So flexibility in use, resizing text. Users should be able to read text and make it larger or smaller. Have you ever had to zoom in on something because you can't see it? Anyone here have to do that ever? Yes? So make it possible, right? Don't just make some image that's really small and then you zoom in and it becomes super pixelated. Simple and intuitive to use. WTF. What does that stand for? I'm not cursing here. What's the focus? Can I see where I need to go? Are you pointing me in the right direction? WTF. What's the focus? Don't let your users get lost. Give them a way. Show them the way to go. Keep it simple. Honestly, keep things simple. Number 4 is perceptible information. So information architecture. Are you organizing your information in a way that's understandable for people, right? Organize it so it makes sense. People know what information architecture is in here? Henry, what is it? I'm just kidding. It's okay. Henry's my former student. I won't do that to you. So make sure we all kind of know what architecture is. Architecture is the structure of something. So does something make sense? Are you putting things in the right place? Are you putting things so that the hierarchy of things makes sense? Tolerance for error. Please let me undo something. If I did it, let me take it back. Yeah? So let users correct their errors. Because you don't want to get them stuck somewhere. Can we talk about forms? Can we talk about forms? So make forms that don't require more information that's needed for the user to complete their goal. Because a lot of times you want, I don't know, you want to know what I was doing when I was 7. And I really don't want to give you that information. I just want to be able to put my name and my email and go do that thing I want to do. I don't want to have to put in everything else. So when you are creating something for someone, what do they need to do? Think about what they need to do and what is the minimum amount of effort that you can have so that they can do that. Size and space for approach and use. Think of all your users. Users may not have use of both hands, or they may use just the keyboard or some sort of alternative, right? So keeping that in mind, whatever you're making, make sure you're thinking about whoever could possibly be using it. So I meant to start with this question, but I'm gonna throw it in now. How many people in this room have ever been left out of anything? How did it make you feel? Sad? How did it make you feel when you were left out? Isolated? Frustrated? I want you to remember this feeling when you don't make things accessible, because this is exactly what it is. It's not about standards. It's not about compliance. It is a feeling of being left out of something. And we all know what that feels like. You may not know what it feels like to be disabled, but you do know what it feels like to be left out of something. and it doesn't feel very good. So when we are making things, we should keep that in mind. So, web aim. Anybody here familiar with web aim? What is it? Lauren? I'm just going to call on people I know. So it's a browser extension. It's a resource. Yes, so they're a great resource for accessibility, webaim.org. And in February of this year, they did a survey of 1 million websites, 1 million homepages. Is anybody here familiar with this? Yeah? You saw it? What'd you think? Oh, your site was on it. Okay, so yeah, that's something. So there was an average of 59.6 errors per homepage. Users with disabilities would expect to encounter software detectable errors on 1 in every 13 elements with which they engage. So I want you to think about a website that you go to and imagine getting an error on the 13th thing that you see on a page. How would that make you feel? Anyone? Annoyed. Maybe you won't be feeling the best about yourself, right? You may not trust the brand that made the website. So 97.8% of home pages had software detectable WCAG 2.0 level AA non-compliance. So for those who may not know what WCAG stands for, I say it WCAG, some people say WCAG, I don't know, different ways of saying it. But it stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. How many people in this room are familiar with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines? Quite a few of you. I'm talking to my peeps here. So I expect that. So for people who don't know, these are standards. They're used internationally, and they're pretty awesome. But they also can be complex to understand for people who are not familiar with them. So some of the most common errors was low contrast, 85%. 85%. How many of you in this room create something? Are you creators? Are you developers? Are you designers? This is y'all. This is y'all. This 85% color contrast is me. It's all of us, right? 68% missing alternative text. 58% empty links. 52.8% missing input labels. 33.1% missing document language. 25% empty buttons. What does this tell you? What are we doing? What are we not doing? As designers, developers, creators, copy, whatever it is you're working on, what are we not doing? Any thoughts on this? 1 million websites. And this is just the home page. This doesn't even get into the other pages of the sites. And these are the errors. And the first one is so easy. Color contrast is not hard. Today I got an email that had pink background with white text. Erin, did you get that email? You haven't opened your email? So we got it from the same organization, I think. So it had pink background, light pink background with white text. Now, because I am mindful of accessibility and because I'm constantly looking and constantly using color contrast checkers and just thinking about it a lot, the first thing I thought, I couldn't even read it. I said, the contrast is off. I can't even read it. I was just done. So please, color contrast is one of the more simple things that you can fix. We can do better. So what can designers do? I talk to designers because I am a designer and I still have a lot to learn, admittedly. How many designers do I have here? Quite a few. How many of you check color contrast? Really? Okay, I believe you. Information plus experience equals knowledge. It's one thing for you to come here. It's one thing for you to read. It's one thing for you to learn. But you have to do. You have to do the right thing. You have to make sure that the work that you're doing is not giving people that feeling that you all know so well to be left out. When you can do something as simple as check the color, that makes a huge difference for someone to have access. So information plus experience equals knowledge. It's not just about getting the information. It's not just about being able to regurgitate the web content accessibility guidelines or whatever the color contrast may be. It's about you actually doing the work and making sure that the work has results so that it's usable and people can see it. Because then they'll feel good about using the stuff that you build. Let's talk about empathy, shall we? What do you know about empathy? What is empathy?
It's when you're able to feel what someone else is feeling.
When you're able to feel what someone else is feeling. What's compassion? No.
I'd say it's when you can't necessarily relate, but you can use a combination of your imagination and your experiences to at least comprehend what they're feeling, even if you can't feel it yourself because of your own background and experiences.
So using a combination of your feelings, your experience, and seeing how that might feel. Yeah.
Can a child be compassionate?
Say that one more time.
Can a 5-year-old be compassionate?
A 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Compassionate? Okay.
I'm just asking.
I don't understand.
That's a question, because a 5-year-old has no experience. But it can be compassionate.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to contradict it.
Okay.
Compassion.
Yeah, I was just asking for a definition, so if
So
you...
I understand compassion is a form of love. It's a form of personal attachment type love.
So compassion could be a form of love. Yeah.
Without experience.
Okay. So I have this up here, and it may be hard for some people to see in the back. So I'm going to describe the image that is here. This is a snowy day at a school. And there are some kids who are standing outside, and there is also a person who is in a wheelchair. The person who is with the shovel in hand is removing the snow. Now, the person says, the person in the wheelchair says, "Could you please shovel the ramp?" The person with the shovel says, "All these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you." The person in the wheelchair then says, "But if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in." What does this tell you about empathy versus compassion? Yes.
Thinking of people as different and start thinking of everybody as kind of one.
So compassion is when you start thinking,
When you stop thinking about people as different and treating people as different, like empathy is kind of the dualistic thing where you're really another person and you're feeling what they're feeling, whereas compassion is really like there's no separation between me and you, and so therefore I do for you what I do for for us and all of us and myself.
so I'm just going to repeat back because not everybody can hear you on the live. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I like it to be interactive. So.
If you have something to say, just let me know, and I'll bring you the microphone to make sure we can get it on the stream.
I've got a room mic here, so if people speak up on the call and response, I will pick it up.
All right. So compassion is when you stop necessarily thinking about people as separate and start thinking about them as you, as a whole, us as a whole, we as a whole, right? So I love this comic because I think it's such a good representation. I've actually shown it in the workplace when I've been talking about accessibility. And when I show this, then people actually kind of get it. Because it does a lot of times, if you work in accessibility, you know it is an ongoing thing for people to get it, for people to understand it. Which is why I like for everyone to think about why, or how you feel when you've been left out of something. Because that you can relate to. And that's something everybody can relate to. I like this quote, and yes, I did throw Nipsey Hussle in here. If you start small and build on what you have, you can continue to multiply that into something greater, while picking up all the valuable lessons along the way. You learn all of the secrets to the game on your way up. Now, for those of you who are learning about accessibility, it is a lifelong thing because there are so many different types of disabilities. As you move on in your careers, as you move on in your life, things are going to change in your life. We are all temporarily able-bodied, right? Things change. Vision changes. We are all looking at screens almost all the time. We have earbuds in, right? And naturally, as you age, your eyes get a little worse, your ears get a little worse, your audio, right? You're not hearing things as you once did. Things change. And so you got to keep that in mind. How many of you know who Don Norman is? Who is Don Norman? Norman Doors, what is that about? Design of Everyday Things, great book. Yes.
He was a designer who was thinking and talking a lot about when you interact with an object or a website or anything, there are certain aspects of that object that tell you the ways you can interact with it.
Yeah.
And things need to be designed so that they clearly communicate how you can interact with them and so that they're intuitive. So like the Norman door looks the same on both sides, you can't tell what to do. And by just making things look different or by using like visual or intellectual cues, you can make things accessible and easy just by saying like, this is what this is what it does, and empowering the user or the person to be confident when they interact with it.
That's great. So empowering the person to be confident when they interact with something is great. Thank you. So Don Norman, he wrote an article back in May that really, it really inspired me. And the article was written by him. Don Norman, for those who don't know, he is the one who coined the term UX, user experience. So he's considered the godfather of UX and, has come up with so many different ideas and phrases that we all use. So Don Norman is now 83 years old. And he said, I wrote the book on design. And we do a disservice to the elderly. Basically, he didn't think about designing for his older self, right? And so out of this, I came up with an idea to create a workshop where folks would design for their older selves. So I'm just going to ask the room, what age do you think is old? Now, some of you have done the workshop. I think a few of you have. So, don't answer if you have. But for a lot of you haven't. So just shout it out. How old do you think is old?
When you start lying about your age.
When you start lying about your age. What else? How old? 35. 35? All right, we're going to keep it moving. 80. 65. When you start getting the AARP magazine. What else? How old is old? When you stop lying about your age. Yes. Hey, Sheehan.
Hello. What about when you can no longer use the things around you?
When you can no longer use the things around you.
When you
Yeah.
start planning your funeral.
When you start planning your funeral.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. I think it's when your age starts affecting what you quote unquote normally do, right? So I feel old even at 35 sometimes because I can't do the things that I did when I was 25, right? And so at different times doing different things you can feel old.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with arthritis at age 28.
When you
You
use
know?
those Cygenics commercials and they don't work, I've never tried them. Sorry, but I see that 75-year-old guy with a six-pack.
So when you start seeing these commercials and you're like, is that for me?
I wouldn't subscribe.
Yeah. So, we all have these things, right? We all have this idea and this concept of what's old. So in this article that Don Norman wrote, yes.
You feel nostalgic.
When you feel nostalgic, yeah, or when you think the music is terrible because it was so good when you were growing up, right? So in this article that Don Norman wrote, they referenced another article that said you should really be designing for your future self. And this was based off an exhibition or a pop-up exhibition that was at the Design Museum in London. And they surveyed 1,000 people. In this 1,000-person survey, they asked people how old is old. And the respondents said 73. They said 73 is old. So for a moment, I want you to think about yourself, you, as a 73-year-old person. And what does your life look like? What happens as you get older? What are you already feeling in your body at this current age? Take a moment. Think about what year it will be when you are 73. Let's all do this together. 73. What does your life look like? Your life, not somebody that you're imagining, you. And what do you want it to look like? And why don't we start making things for ourselves now for that person in the future? Because I like to ask my students, who do you think about the most? If you have been my student, I asked it several times, right, throughout the semester, because we oftentimes think about ourselves the most. And so therefore it becomes really hard when we try to think about accessibility and think about someone who's not us, especially if we're not disabled. But when you start thinking about you and you as you get older and the things that you want to still be able to do potentially, despite whatever else is going on with you. This is an important thing to think about. We are the ones that create our future. There are so many designers in this room. There are so many creators in this room. Why aren't we making things for ourselves as we progress in age and life? So I like this quote from Don Norman. Don't think that thoughtful design is just for the elderly or the sick or the disabled. In the field of design, this is called inclusive design for a reason. It helps everyone. What does your future look like? What do you want to build? What do you want to see? I have a hard time now opening almost everything. They make it impossible to open packages. Why are we doing that? Who created this? And who did they create it for?
Excuse me, and you're touching on a very important point, and this just goes beyond
Can you give him the mic, because I don't think anybody could hear. Just 1 second. Hold that thought.
What you're saying touches on a very serious point that actually goes beyond just age and what we're talking about right now, but the design of all systems in general. And I think that one of the keys maybe is something called forward compatible design, which is an article I started writing some time ago, and I stopped writing it because it's like a systems engineering question. If you look at serious things like what happened in Fukushima in Japan about 10 years ago with the nuclear reactor, one of the reasons why that disaster was so bad is that they had outdated systems in terms of the actual components, something built like over almost 50 years ago. And they had it was designed in a way in which it was hard to replace the components in the reactor without actually destroying the whole reactor. So when engineers build stuff, they should make it forward compatible, where it's easier to take out and replace new components and update, including updates in terms of aesthetics, and also like as the times change, there's better engineering. So for example, you say, oh, we have a nice way to make the elderly do this, but someone comes up with an even nicer way to do that in 2 years. And you can compatibly switch around without spoiling the entire system. So we need to look at forward compatible design that is easily integrated into the future as we go along.
Yeah.
And thanks.
Thank you. That's a very good point. Anyone who has children here and you want that stroller that's going to last beyond them being an infant, that's going to work when they're a toddler, right? You don't want to buy multiple strollers. You're wanting to have something that's going to grow with them, right? Why aren't we making these things for ourselves? I'm done, actually. This was it. These are some resources that I put up for you all. I think it's great to look at the Microsoft Inclusive Design Toolkit because it's a great reference of permanent, temporary, and situational disabilities. I also, for those designers who use Sketch and say that you check your color, I hope you do, but this is a plugin you can use. Also, please, color contrast, easiest thing you could do for accessibility as a designer. There's color contrast checker. And for those of you who are very interested in accessibility just as a whole, I highly recommend that you sign up for the A11y weekly email. So you'll get an email every Monday with the latest and greatest that's going on in the world of accessibility. I think following the hashtag A11y is also good. Does everybody know what A11y stands for in here? Yes? Okay. See, not everybody in here knows, and that's okay. Because one thing, I'll say this one thing, it's actually okay to say that you don't know something. Everyone. What is this that people say on Twitter? I don't know who needs to hear this. But it's okay if you don't know. And it's okay to say that you don't know. So A11y is a numeronym. Between the A and the Y, there are 11 characters. So A11y. I didn't know what the heck it meant for a long time, to be honest. And then I discovered it was a numeronym. So now you know. I will open this up for any questions anyone has about anything that I hope I can answer. Also, I should say that next year, early next year, I have a book coming out on inclusive design, designing with accessibility in mind, published by A-Press, which I spent a good year working on. And it is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I am proud of the work that I did. I want to give a shout out to Sarah Allen. In the vein of Nothing About Us Without Us, I made sure to have my technical reviewer on the book be a person with disabilities. So shout out to Sarah. I don't know if you probably will not be watching this, but I will give a shout out. So I have that coming out. I also have a Skillshare called Inclusive UX. If anybody is interested in that, it's a quick 30 minutes on user experience. If and accessibility if you're interested. And I want to thank you all for coming here tonight, because you could be anywhere and you chose to be here. So I'd like it to open it up for questions if I have time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you have a question, just wave me down. Sorry there. I'll come back.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, so I used to work as an applied behavioral analysis, and I was wondering, is there like any good technology for kids with autism or like with occupational therapy and like central auditory processing disorder? Like, have you heard anything about that?
No,
No?
I don't know the answer to that,
yeah.
because that's not my specialty area. But can you do me a favor and connect with me, and I will find out, because I
I would
know
love
enough
that.
to find that answer for you.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay,
Hi.
so one, I guess the biggest concern that I generally have around accessibility stuff is, I guess, evangelizing for it and like getting it to actually happen.
Right.
So I worked for like 6 months or whatever at Prudential, and they really care about accessibility. I feel like it's mostly because they want to still get your money. And so, I learned a lot more about accessibility there, and they're actually trying to implement a lot of that stuff. But then leaving there, going other places, it's like, let's get this product out, right? Or let's get this thing done. And, we don't have time to worry about, adding the ARIA tags, or we don't have time to worry about, making sure that this is all done and things like that. So how do you recommend or suggest that designers kind of not only advocate for that, but actually do things to make it actually happen?
Okay, I brought back up the Nipsey Hussle quote. If you start small. Say, what can we do? What can we add to this build, instead of looking at what we can't add to this build? Because there's always a little something that you can add to each and every build. And just like all the buildings out here in New York City that are brick by brick, that's how you do it. Brick by brick. Start small. Start with the smallest thing that you can do, and see, like, I'm a big fan of planting seeds, because there is no way to change people's minds overnight, but there is a way to just start to say it, start to do it, and start to execute it. I mean, that's general, but that's the truth. That's the only way I've known how to do it. Because I certainly can't change people's minds, and it starts at the top. And when the people at the top don't give a crap, it's really, really difficult to try to do anything. So try to do what you can with what you have and what you can.
I was going to say, I hate to sound like a building, but yeah, sorry. But if you show them the dollars involved, because there are lots of disabled people out there, and it's actually, and the people who are related to disabled people. So if you show them that it's actually for the monetary perspective, it's actually to their advantage to care about these people.
Yeah.
Then they will actually. You just mentioned the buy-in from the top is important.
Yes, it is.
If you don't have buy-in from the top, you're wasting your time. But if you tell them, listen, there's a whole market share demographic right there we're leaving out. They say, I never forgot about that. Yeah.
Or you start just doing it. Like, I worked at a place where they had some issues, and I said, I'm going to put together accessibility guidelines. And I did screenshots, and I looked up, I'm not a developer, but I found all the information I could for the developers. I found all the information I could for copywriting. So, and I put this document together, and I sent it to my boss. She said, this is great. I'm going to send it to everybody. I just did it. I didn't ask. I just did it because something needed to be done. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Any other questions? Oh, I think they're going to go back there, and then we'll...
Is
Hey,
there
Mariella.
Hi. So one of the questions I've been meaning to ask you for some time is there ever such a thing as universal accessibility? And by that I mean, I'm putting together this event on
Do you
Saturday.
want to talk about your event?
One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of tools are created for people with disabilities instead of with people with disabilities. And so this is going to be an event where people with disabilities talk about challenges that they have, and a team of engineers, designers, rehab professionals work with that individual with a disability. It's kind of like a hackathon, but we don't want to call it a hackathon because that scares some people, so we're calling it a build-a-thon. So it's called the Access and Ability Build-a-thon, and we have one of the presenters is going to be there. But anyways, this Saturday, if you're interested, come talk to me. But anyway, my original question is there such a thing as universal design? Because one of the things that I'm learning while I was putting this event together is that you could account for as many disabilities to make an event accessible and inclusive, but there are still things that you're going to miss. So for example, we tried to make the event accessible for people in wheelchair ramps, but then we forgot color contrast, or we include captioning, but then we forget ASL speakers, or like, it's just so many things. So is there ever a way that you can actually make an event or anything truly accessible where you include everyone?
You can try, and honestly, that's getting there, right? And when you incorporate people with those type of disabilities in the creation process, you will get the results you need. When you have people who are not disabled, right, organizing an event, they're not going to think about certain things. So if you know that you want to have a variety of people coming to your event, have them be part of the creation, whatever it is that you're creating, right? Nothing about us without us. That's it. And that's the best way you'll get to as universal as you can get, in my opinion. Oh, there's a question up here.
Hi, so I work at a place where we're a digital company, but our primary consumers are the elderly. And one of the things that we run into is, in addition to sort of meeting sort of basic web accessibility, contrast sort of baseline things, the medium itself is in some ways challenging, just digital tools for people. So you sort of have to layer on this level of either it's something we struggle with, and I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about how to go about making things more accessible when there's not sort of the intuitive sense of like what the agenda is or goal of, or even how to approach or why you would engage with a particular product when it's not something that has been familiar to you, in your experience at all.
Right. So you I'm sure don't probably have any elderly people on your team.
There are people who are older within our organization, but they're primarily retirees. So
yeah, so
we do user testing, but
yeah, I would say if you could do some participatory design or co-design, that would be so helpful, because what you have when you're designing for an audience that's not you, right? You've been using digital products for quite some time, I'm sure, right? Since, what has it been, 11 years since the iPhone came out? So we're super savvy, but we're not digital natives. And certainly, like anybody you think about someone who is born today, all they know is a touch screen. If they see a screen, they're going to touch it. Whereas if you have someone who grew up in times where you still memorized everybody's phone number, you didn't just push a button, you still maybe you did the rotary, right? To call how many people remember that, right? So maybe you did the rotary. So you have people who are not thinking the way that your team is potentially thinking. And if there's any way whatsoever to do co-design or participatory design and bring them in a little earlier, even if you get one or two people, it would certainly help. Because when you do usability testing, it's after the fact. You've already created it, and you haven't had the people actually participate in designing whatever it is you're making. And ask them what they want when they're there. You know, what are they looking for? What's going to work for them? They may or may not be savvy. I mean, so my parents are deceased, but I have a New York mom. And my New York mom today was very excited because she updated her iPad to iOS 13. So she's sending me text messages because she has a Samsung. Her regular cell phone is a Samsung phone. She doesn't like it, but she loves her iPad. And she's sending me a text message. You can probably tell I upgraded to the iOS 13. And I don't know how she thinks that I could tell that from her text message. But you know, this is like her using technology is kind of newish for her. And so I think keeping that in mind when you're building this is super helpful. I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure. Okay. Hi, online folks.
You'll never guess who it is. It's Thomas.
Oh, Thomas. Hello.
Thomas asks, I know you do work in VR and AR accessibility. Can you comment on some interesting design techniques in this space?
Okay, so yes, I actually created a course for the R Lab, user experience design for AR and VR. So a lot of times when we think about AR and VR, we don't think about it for people with disabilities, but there's a lot of use around those areas, especially when it comes to, for example, I got to work with an AR company that was working on wayfinding for people with dementia, right? So using iPads to direct them back to their room as they walked the halls because they didn't remember exactly where to go. So there is opportunity in these areas. Is anybody here interested in AR or VR? Yeah. Yes?
Have the slides turned off,
Oh.
lost captions.
Oh,
You just need to wake up your laptop.
I did.
There it is.
Okay, sorry, live people, sorry. So what I would say, this area is so new. When I created this course for the R Lab, it was a bit of a challenge to find things in relation to accessibility and AR, VR, because it is so new. I will say that there needs to be work around this because as a person who is going to get older, I want to be able to use these products. Again, we are the creators, so it is my hope to have some influence on the future creators, that you think about accessibility, that you think about that feeling of being left out and how you don't like that feeling when you are making these things. What I would say is, I like to throw out this statistic. In the year 2035, in this country, we will have more people over the age of 65 than we do young people. Now, all this technology that we are making today, I want to still be able to use it when I get older. I hope you would want to still use it when you get older. So what are we not doing now so that we can use it later? So these are just some of the things. Thomas, I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure.
No comment.
Okay, no comment. Thank you.
What's the name of your course that you were talking about?
Oh, it's not out yet. They're still putting it together and editing it, but it'll be through the R Lab. R Lab, which is the first ever public, private funded mixed reality lab in the country.
Can I just say this?
Can you wait for the mic?
Hold on.
You occupy a very important place in terms of like the interface between the ordinary people and the guys who build these systems. And I just thinking while you're talking about AR, VR, about medical applications, and because not everything is about accepting your disabilities as they are. Sometimes there's hope where you can use, for example, in neuroscience, where you can, with all the advances taking place in medicine, where some of these technologies can actually help to heal the person. But now these communities, like the engineers and the neuroscientists and all the people, it's a very new field. There's so much going on. Traditional fields are emerging and collaborating in ways which we, as we speak, in all kinds of ways. But they need people like you who are interfacing with the average person and who are advocating stuff like that, to have people to try out new stuff where you use AR, VR, and they, in that space, they recover some of the facilities in an artificial way, which they don't have in the real world, and they can actually train their nervous systems to actually recover. Because they did this interesting experiment where they asked people to wear glasses which showed the world upside down. And after a while, the brains, the nervous systems trained their brains to make them see the world right way up, in spite of the fact that the glasses were showing the world upside down. That's the power of the central nervous system. So now, some of these technologies can actually help the person to recover in ways that we don't even think about. But we need people like you who are interfacing with the common people and getting students to test these things, to be a necessary part, and also go to the government, go to the scientists who are hidden away in their closets and say, listen, we can do these things, and look for problems that can, that's not everything you can do that with. But you see where I'm going with this. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as a UX designer, we are problem solvers. As creators, we are problem solvers. And if we are not solving problems, what the heck are we doing here? What is the point? Make things better. Make people feel good. You all know what it feels like to be left out. Don't do that to other people. If it's as simple as fixing the color, fix the color. If it's one thing that you can do to make things better, make things better. There's I don't know, people are raising their hands.
Okay.
I think, but we might be
Yeah, we'll
at
take
time.
2 more questions, and then we can, of course, continue the discussion after we end the stream. But there is another brief presentation that we want you guys to see shortly, too. So we'll take 2 more questions here.
Okay, there was somebody in the back.
Could you explain alternate text and input labels? That was something just terms I wasn't familiar with.
Sure. So as a designer, don't worry about the input labels so much. That's more on the other side. But for alternative text is what you'll put for an image. So you want to describe what the image is. So let's say somebody is using a screen reader. The screen reader will then read what that image is about. For somebody who's in an area where there's low bandwidth and the image is not able to download, you can still see what that image is. So that's, yeah.
How you doing? I'm an iOS engineer. So obviously it's better to get someone who is impaired or elderly with the product in their hands, but that's not really an everyday solution. So what apps do it really well? What can we download and learn from who's already executing it ideally?
I would say Axe is pretty good. I will refer to you for some more applications that you can use. Yeah.
Anyone that we can put the screen reader setting on and go, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Well, you can put voiceover on. Have you
tried? We've done that, and it's.
You guys are
Sorry, we've done that, and it was pretty terrible. So we knew that we needed to be pointed in a better direction rather than just shooting in the dark. I know.
Probably any default Apple app will be pretty good. They do good stuff out of the box.
Okay.
So I would probably check the default apps to begin with and see how they're sort of thing. iOS 13 also has a new voice control, which is interacting voice over, and it'll put labels on everything, and you can talk to your phone to interact with it. And I find it to be really interesting. I'm a very able-bodied person, but I find it very interesting to do a quick check because you can visually see all the text labels. So if you're missing a label or if the label doesn't make sense, you'll be able to check pretty quickly.
And also, Axe has people have written continuous Axe. People have written continuous integration. So if your process includes continuous integration, that can be automated, but it doesn't. It will skip the part where you would require a human being. So a picture of a cat without text, a dog, doesn't make any sense, but it's technically sound. Thank you.
Oh, Sheehan? Last question here.
Thank you.
First of all, great job today. This is wonderful. And I mean, I just wanted to explain why I said aging is when you can no longer use the things around you, is that I find, okay, so I have an 84-year-old dad and a 68-year-old mom. And my dad boxes 3 days a week. He works 7 days. My mom is constantly climbing mountains, hiking this, that. They are living their best life. The only time that they feel old and that they seem old is when they're saying to me, how did Auntie Jean know that you went swimming yesterday with Lexi? Oh, Facebook? Okay. How am I supposed to? So my mom's actually an art director. And she used to be able to design a logo in 5 minutes on her old Apple products. And I guess there's certain, tech that is almost more complicated in her mind than it needs to be. And so now she'll spend 2 hours trying to figure out where's the color wheel, right? Or something basic like that. And so I do think one of the things that we can do collectively is try to simplify the things that we are creating so that we're not being exclusive. I think we've always thought of the word exclusive as being, this elitist ideal, but we can't be inclusive and exclusive at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So thank you for mentioning that wonderful and horrifying statistic about 2035, because I think we do tend to focus on the future as in the young future, and we forget about the future for everyone else and the people who gave us generational histories and rich things that are the basis for everything that we're doing today. And I think it's a real disservice not only to the elderly community but the disability community, and it's all connected. So I just want to thank you for it. You made me think a lot about what's next, and I'd love to find out how can we make it simpler. And if you have an answer to that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, I think, and this will be my last thought, we think about ourselves a lot. We don't tend to think about the we part of this, what connects us all. And what connects us all is feeling loved. What connects us all is feeling accepted. What connects us all is being together and being able to do things. And I don't know why we don't do that. And so it is up to us to create that future. So thank you for your time. Also, I would like to get a selfie with you all in the background. Because why not? Say hello. Wave. Thank you. Thank you all. Can I unplug?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Right now, I would like to invite Ying from the Global Shapers Project up to give a quick presentation of a wonderful project that she and her team are working on.
Thank you, Jay, for coming. Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Ying. I'm here with my teammate Sarav, and we're from the Your Everyday Ally project. So I do have a confession to make. I did not do contrast check, and my presentation was actually coral pink and white, so I changed it last second for you. So we learn something new every day. Okay, so what we're here to talk to you about really quickly is we have an event coming up in November, and we just wanted to tell the community about it and also just get the word out. Okay. So, what do we do? So at Your Everyday Ally, we're a workshop series geared towards empowering people with disabilities to live more independently and autonomously by utilizing technology in their daily lives. And we specifically seek to leverage mobile technology across multiple topics such as navigation, mobile banking, scheduling apps, voice interfaces, and also social media ethics. So before I get into the actual event, just a bit about us. So you see me here with Sarav. But really, the idea for our project came from our team lead, Sam Berman, which some of you might know. He's a regular attendee here. And Sam always talks about this story of, he has cerebral palsy, and he said the first time he got a smartphone at 20 was when he started to realize that I actually have enough information in my hand to go out and travel New York City by myself. And that was the first time in his life where he could go places without his girlfriend, his parents, a caretaker, and it gave him a great sense of confidence and independence. And so, for us, like city kids, we start taking the subway very early on, but for Sam, it wasn't until he was 20 that he could go and do that by himself. But obviously, it is a great story. And he also talks about being able to use his mobile phone, Google Maps technology to even travel internationally. So that's kind of the inspiration of where our project came from. And because of that, our first workshop is going to be on November 2nd from 10 to 12. And this one is going to be focused strictly on navigation, really inspired first by Sam's story. How can we give other people like Sam, who struggle with using technology, that same sort of sense of confidence to just go out into the world and do what they need to do? So I know everyone in this room is very technologically savvy. You may have one phone, even two. So this is more for people you may know that could benefit from a workshop like this. So really what we're trying to teach is how can you use mobile technology to optimize the accessibility and the convenience of the transportation route that you want to use. Safety is a big concern. Sam always talks about, sometimes I get to a place and I don't realize there's way more stairs than I thought there'd be. And I can't find the elevator where I want to go. So being able to figure out those things in advance really helps, people like Sam. And also, we just want to arm people with disabilities with the tools and know-how to find the routes that are safe, convenient, and cost-effective for them. Think about just going out into New York City today. You're going to be thinking about, okay, how do I get there on time? How many transfers do I need to take? Do I want to take a bus or a subway or a taxi today? You're making all these split decisions in your head, and you're optimizing for yourself. So we want to be able to give that sort of knowledge to someone else. How can they optimize best for them? And so really, the ideal participant is someone who wants to learn more how to use navigation tools and apps to optimize their transportation. Someone who's looking to use technology to travel more independently and safely around New York City. And one requirement, if you do want to come to our workshop, is you have to have a smartphone. So if you know of anyone who could benefit from this workshop, please have them RSVP at our website. Maybe you can help them RSVP as well. And yeah, really, we just want to get the word out. If you know anyone who can benefit, please direct them to the website. And if you're interested in our project, come talk to us after. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Ying. It's going to be an amazing workshop. So hopefully you'll get some participants out of here, and hopefully you'll share it with your networks as well. Okay, so with that, we'll end the stream here, but I just want to thank everybody else for coming out tonight. This is a great event. If you'd like to relive it again or share it with a friend, of course, we archive all of our meetups, so just visit our YouTube page. If you're not a member of our meetup, I encourage you to join so you can stay in touch with our future events and also the sort of announcements, job opportunities, internships, all of that good stuff that we like to send out. You can also follow us on our Twitter, where we post a lot of the information as well. And if you have any announcements or want to make a special presentation or have anything that you want to share with the community here, please reach out to us. We love giving everybody a chance to share with the community, so please let us know. I'd like to thank our sponsors one more time, Equal Entry, Adobe, Level Access, and Thoughtbot. And with that, I'll see you at the next one. Have a good night.